all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the SKR Sim Racing League. This is the 6th and final round of this season, coming to you tonight from Le Mans. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Joshua Wilkie is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Charles, a campaign that started 6 weeks ago here and has since visited many historic racetracks in the world of American auto racing and global auto racing period, now ends at the quintessential sports car racing venue. When you think of the history of auto racing, when you think of the history of sports car racing, you think of Le Mans. This is the best way I think that we could have ended this season.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ron. Absolutely. Thanks for having me in for the final race here. It's been a great season. We've got a small group, but these guys are dedicated. They're here every week, and they put on a good show. And yeah, it was a great schedule. It was just classic tracks, and this is one of the granddaddies out here at Le Mans. And we were kind of joking. We would love to see the historic layout here, but this current layout here at Le Mans is just amazing, and it is a true driver's course. It is very fast and actually more technical than you realize. Because of all the speed you're having to carry throughout this to get a good lap time. So this is going to be a really good test of the drivers tonight as we round out the season and crown a champion and watch some good racing along the way.
Yeah, and speaking of that championship situation, heading into the season finale, despite the fact that it was really the first half of the season where he shined the most, Justin Ruth has been the dominant man throughout this season, and it stands to reason that he will likely capture the crown at the end of the night. He has been stunningly quick all throughout the season. Leo Le Carpentier has tried to close the margin, however, with a couple of falling anvils, including one last time out at Long Beach. Not sure if we will see that come to form. It would have to be a historic fall down the running order for Justin Ruth, and it would have to end up being a cataclysmic event for everybody else, for Leo Le Carpentier to potentially capture the crown. Currently about 200 points separate those drivers here currently, so we can maybe take a bit of a step back in looking at the championship situation, kind of look at how competitive this season is and the gradual improvement and change that we have seen for these drivers. It's been a fantastic run throughout this season. Of course, Justin Ruth captured 3 wins straight. Dan Pancos was able to score a victory last time, 2 weeks ago, pardon me. Andrew Way victorious after starting from the pole at Long Beach. All throughout this season, Charles, we have seen now 3 different winners, 4 different pole sitters. Maybe we could go for a couple more here to round off this season.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, it's one of the things when we work with these new leagues that are focused on development. We've had Ron and I have been around the block once or twice, and we dealt with these. Even in the kind of the administrative stuff, just kind of helping get the leagues organized and things like that. But then the racing itself, and it's always good to see the driver development over the course of the season. These guys that are kind of the back guys but they're out there racing, and you see the improvement, almost from lap to lap, how much better they get as these races go on, and how much better they improve overall during the course of this. So, six race season, the formers back there, were I would say quite a bit off of the pace, but they settled in, and they're pretty competitive there with some of the other guys on the circuit. So it's been really fun to watch the driver progression here during the course of the season, and you can just tell these guys are really getting into the racing and really want to learn how to get better at it.
Yeah, it has been absolutely amazing to see the improvement in these drivers race in and race out, getting to grips with these GT3 cars, which are by no means an easy car to try and learn when you're just getting into iRacing. Many of these drivers, of course, running in the high-grade motion simulators there at SKR's HQ in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, but still getting their first taste of sim racing in a GT3 car. It's not even a baby being chucked into the deep end of the pool. That's basically taking a baby and throwing them into the frigid Arctic waters right around Antarctica. It is a very big challenge, but these drivers have coped with it brilliantly, have gone to see many amazing talents kind of show their form here throughout the season, and looking forward to seasons in the future. We received news a little bit earlier on this week that SKR is looking at an 8-round championship launching a little bit later on here this summer in September, if I heard correctly, running off into the fall here, running GTE cars, the little, can we call them the big brothers of these GT3 machines? 'Cause I love GTE cars back in the day. That was my sort of gateway drug, so to speak, into getting into sports car racing.
Yeah, the GTEs, I would say the big brother. Obviously, they're a bit different driving. They've kind of as the GT3s have evolved, they've kind of really come a lot closer to what the GTEs run. But the GTEs a little more horsepower, a little more downforce, and a lot less aids in the form of no anti-lock brakes. So makes it just a lot more difficult to drive. These cars like to go fast. They don't necessarily like to stop, and so it's a very good group of cars as well. That was one of the first cars when I was doing learning GT racing. They said, "Hey, go jump in the Porsche 911 RSR and do some laps." And like here at Le Mans, and it's definitely a different animal. It handles just as well or better than the GT3s, but once again, it's very difficult to get this car stopped. And so that's another little step of learning that they're going to get next season.
Yeah, so it's going to be another fantastic treat, and of course we have been treated throughout this season, and it's been a journey here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and happy to have been a part of the ride. But for one final time here this season, let's take a brief little gander at your starting grid here for round number 6 of this championship here at Le Mans. The 15-minute long qualifying session is done and dusted. The short pace lap is rolling. Andrew Way gonna lead the way at the start of this race. He is going to line up from the pole position as Jim Worth, not rolling there, finally able to get things going there. He will join Andrew Way on your front row. Dan Pankos will start in third. Ryan Fulmer will be alongside there in fourth. Good qualifying time there from Fulmer, who started off this season on the back foot trying to get a grip to these cars. Logan Fulmer will start in P5. Justin Ruth will be in 6th. Leo Le Carpentier will be in 7th, with Chris Barrett rounding out your final 8-car grid here for the season finale. Charles, we've already talked about how much of a beast this track is to try and slay, but that run down to turn number 1 is pretty much a concentration of everything that makes this track a tough one.
Yeah, it really is. As we head down through into the first chicane, it's going to be, you're going to see how well these cars perform. And these cars, once again, as we talk about the GT3s, we always say every one of the cars in this class perform a little differently. They just make their power, they make their lap times in a different way. You're going to see that Beamer and that McLaren in particular be really, really fast down the straights. The Ferrari is very, very good in the draft. The Porsches are going to be very good through the aptly named Porsche curves as we get rolling. And but I'm obviously very interested in Logan Fulmer sticking with that Audi, and I love to see it. I have driven the Audi in races here at this track, and it is a fun car to drive. He's going to have to be very careful with the rear tires, but otherwise, that is a very quick car, and it will shine in the twisty bits.
Yeah, and you brought up the Ferrari. Of course, the driver behind the wheel of that machine, Leo Le Carpentier, originally born in France. This is one of his favorite racetracks. I think he'll have a bit of a firm footing here as we head off into this race. Very jumbled up start as we head our way through that final chicane. The green flag flies, and the drivers are on their way. It's a good start there from your pole man of Andrew Way, but Jim Worth, who tucked into the slipstream before the slipstream was even a thing, trying to make something work here as they head their way downtown into the chicane for the first time. Look at a dive there in the BMW. That's Ryan Fulmer looking for second. He's going to try and sweep around the outside. The out there with the trailer park girls try and make something work as they head their way through the opening series of turns. That is gutsy stuff there at the start. Fulmer, though, getting the move done. Whoa!
We got a spin behind, and that is the Audi of Logan Fulmer and Leo Le Carpentier. Getting it wrong through the Dunlop curves, and I think they're okay. Obviously, no damage for these cars. Damage turned off, so they'll get back out. But they're going to be a little bit on the back foot there as we see the cars run through. It just looks like the rear of that Audi stepped out just a little bit. Logan tried to correct it, but contact with the car on the outside, and these guys are going to have to catch up. But now we're seeing that Beamer power running down the mid part of the track there. And if you're familiar with GT3 racing, that is the fast line right down the middle. As we see that Porsche going around as well. That is the 33, I believe, of Worth. That lost the car there, and so already a couple spins here are in the early going.
It was messy through there as it was Jim Worth spinning around and Andrew Way stopped by the side of the racetrack. Now, he did that a couple of times last time out in this series at Long Beach, so interesting to note that here as well as some mad blocking hang down the Mulsanne. This could get very dicey heading into the second of the two back straight chicanes. That's Ryan Fulmer and Dan Pankos squabbling as they head their way through this section. Pankos looking for a little bit more after some disappointment last time out at Long Beach. He's slotted in second with Fulmer right in front, and Justin Ruth has been able to cut his way through the running order already. Pankos having the advantage of the draft, but not much more than that, as you've got two BMWs all around him that are the beast heading down the straightaways. Despite that, though, the Porsche still having the legs. I gotta wonder whether there's any damage on that BMW of Fulmer. It was a scrappy start to this race, trying to fight and get some moves done, but that can turn some of those aerodynamic pieces into little parachutes hanging down the straightaways.
It really can, but yeah, I would say that Fulmer's doing Pankos doing a great job in the Porsche, not known for top speed, but he's fighting with those two BMWs up front and hanging in there pretty well. So now we're getting down to the beginning of our technical section of the track, heading down into Indianapolis, and that's going to be tight. I don't know about too wide through here. It's very difficult hanging on the outside, but great job there by Pankos to get through there as the BMW runs wide, and there goes Fulmer to the back for a couple of positions there, as still got some good battling going on up front between Pankos and Ruth.
And I will say, thankfully for these drivers, a point that we haven't raised so far, if these drivers do find themselves in trouble, they do have a lot of time to try and bounce back. The 20-minute long format that we usually have in this series being extended to 25 here for this season finale, as Justin Ruth thought of backhang, a move done on the Porsche, heading off into the Porsche curves, thought better of it. That seems like a little bit of bad voodoo coming into the midst there, trying to go for a move in that section there on the Porsche. As we'll touch on some of these incidents, this was Jim Worth is running in the podium spots and trying to go for a brilliant move around the outside, but contact being made with himself and Fulmer. Avoids the gravel trap, but not much more than that, as in live time, I believe Dan Pankos has run into some trouble. As you can see, Jim Worth nearly clobbered into the back of that car right up in front of him, and things just kind of snowballed out of control from there, as Pankos has sunk down. Let's see what happened here in that number 35 car, tail end of the Porsche curves.
Yeah, here we go through the Porsche curves and just losing the rear of the car. That's probably a lift off oversteer a little bit as we're working through, and as he comes through there, it just lifts and the rear steps out. So it's kind of classic Porsche there. It is a little difficult through there the first lap, as the tires aren't quite up to temp yet, so that's probably contributed to that spin as well. But now everybody should have the tires nice and hot, and we should be able to get into some good racing here. We got a couple of slowdowns. Chris Barrett and Leo Le Caponte A, both with slowdowns. Oh, there's another spin there, and that's Pankos going around.
Unfortunately, Pankos running into more trouble. That slide he had there at the end of the Porsche curves, heading off into the Corvette curves, spelling trouble for the tires on that race car and running a pretty tight line, trying to get a move done there on the number 60. That's never going to fly, heading off to that section. Now it's himself and Ryan Fulmer coming to blows. The thing is with this racetrack, there's a lot of turns, but not a lot of them are slam dunk overtaking opportunities.
No, they're really not. I think the biggest one is probably down at the end of Mulsanne, and that's the best opportunity, is to get that run down Mulsanne and work through. But it is, that was kind of I think maybe too aggressive there by Pankos, trying to go side by side through the Dunlop curves there. Just didn't quite work out, and a little bit of contact, and off the track he goes. But once again, no damage on these today. Damage turned off, so car will self-repair. We'll get back out and run some more, but now we got Justin Ruth with a slowdown. So this is the trick. We're probably not going to have anybody DQ tonight for incidents, but you're going to see that yellow flag pop up quite a bit when you miss a corner, you cut too much, or you run wide. You are going to get that yellow flag that says you need to give up some time, and those will absolutely ruin your race if you're not careful.
Yeah, so keep an eye on those incident points as we go throughout this race. I say this usually when it comes to tire wear, but incident points run the same as well. As we've got a frantic fight here. Look at the move from Ryan Fulmer down the inside of Chris Barrett. Leo Carpentier nearly getting into the back of Barrett as they headed their way down into Mulsanne. That could have ended in tears for those drivers. But I usually say, as trouble for Fulmer there. Logan Fulmer farther in the back goes for a hop, skip, and a jump off into the gravel trap. No harm, no foul done outside of some very wounded tires. We're back to side-by-side racing here. Leo Carpentier, and it's going to end in tears right in front of him. That right there was Ryan Fulmer and Chris Barrett plowing into each other as they headed their way down into Indianapolis. Disaster breaking out. It's given a black flag to Fulmer for incident point violations. Nearly rejoins into the side of his son there. Logan Fulmer may have to buy him an ice cream cone after this.
Yeah, it will be the first time we saw the Fulmers get together during the course of a race. But yeah, that's I'm going to guess just by watching that was that curb on the inside that you can actually cross over to cut that just a little bit. You can go half a car width over, but no, that's actually not. That was just two guys fighting down the straightaway, and contact made, and one of the cars goes around. Excuse me.
Yeah, so we'll try and get a couple more angles of this. I think the problem is here, it is so disjointing as you head your way through that section of the racetrack. It feels very narrow. You've got the trees lined on either side of the road, and with the glare as well, very tricky to kind of sight it out. You can see there, Barrett on the inside, not keeping as tight to the inside curb as he maybe could have, but at the same time, Fulmer trying to get through that turn. Unfortunately, the two cars just merging into one piece of real estate out there on the racetrack. Tough break for those drivers. It's really left us with just two battles of note. One that isn't hot currently and may cool off a little bit is Jim Worth, currently serving a slowdown. That'll actually turn into a battle with himself and Dan Pancos, as I thought was going to be a fight between himself and Leo Carpentier. Pancos actually able to get a move done to jump his way up into fourth as Barrett's sinking down. Something may have just happened to driver the number 31 car. He is cratering his way down the running order. Yeah, there it was. No wonder why he got the slowdown served. He slowed down extra.
Yeah, as he did indeed, is coming through the Ford chicane here and hop, skip, and a jump over that curb and loses the car into the barrier. And you got to turn around over there by the Le Mans paint and get yourself reset. But that's kind of the other part of that is the curbs here, especially the Ford chicane curbs, are very difficult. It takes a lot of practice to A, to get it right, and then B, to make it fast. And I still haven't figured out B yet, but I can at least get it right most of the time as I'm through there. But yeah, that is another little pitfall of this, is those sausage curbs there in the Ford chicane, as we do see Fulmer coming around. Now we got another black flag. That is Jim Worth. So Jim now with a black flag as well, and Chris Barrett. We're getting black flags all over the place.
Yeah, it's like the scene from Oprah Winfrey's show back in the day when she gave out the cars. We're giving out black flags as it stands currently. Very easy to have that happen here at Le Mans. I talked about the turns around here, 33 in all, and each of them gives an opportunity to farm those high racing incident points as we take a look here. Following Logan Fulmer in that Audi, we saw him run into trouble here at the start of this race, has since bounced back to P6, as kept his nose fairly clean in the midst of that. That was a pretty high-speed incident heading down at the end, at the bottom of the hill to start off the lap through into the S's. Nearly ended in disaster for those drivers. Thankfully, considering that Le Mans has been around the block before in the racing world, they've built up the runoff areas to try and cope with that.
They have indeed. Yeah, obviously we've seen videos. If you follow racing, you've seen videos of crashes at Le Mans, as we saw the contact there between the 60 and another car. Could not quite who that was, but I was going to mention something. Is if we, you see the 35 there of Dan Pancos centering the track, and the reason he's doing that is because it is faster. These two straights, the Mulsanne and then the second straight, which I've always kind of called the Toyota straight. is they're public roads, and so they're crowned in the middle. And so by riding that crown, you actually reduce the air underneath the car, and it makes the car faster. It doesn't have that air resistance underneath it, and it just makes the car quicker as you go. And so that is worth probably about a half a second to a second over the course of a lap by riding the middle of those straightaways.
Yeah, see, that straightaway between Mulsanne and Indianapolis, I usually just call Mercedes-Benz International Airport.
Yeah.
Those who know the history of sports car racing will get that reference for sure. But right now, Andrew Way holding on to that top spot. Justin Ruth in P2 on track for a championship. And there you can see those drivers running up towards the front as we slowly run our way off into the night here at Le Mans. Currently pushing... at the moment about 8:28 in sim time, so it's not the darkest in the world, but it's still getting a little bit cool out there on the racetrack. The headlights are burning bright. You can see the track temperatures looking pretty all right at the current moment. A beautiful night here in the French countryside for a motor race. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action. Want to give a little thank you to this. I haven't gotten the opportunity to do this so far this season. Our thanks to the folks at Whiplash SimCams for providing all the track cameras and car cameras that we've been using throughout this season. Tremendous views of this racing surface and these brilliantly done models of these cars here on iRacing, but we'll talk about those a little bit later on here as we say a brief farewell here to these GT3 cars. A farewell spanning about 25-ish hours before the next round of the Rick Matek GT3 challenge here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tomorrow night here on the channel. As it's kind of spread out here at the current moment. Like Carpentier picking up a slowdown there, heading off through a very easy section to do it. It's Tetra Rouge, which I'll be honest, Charles, I loved it when I first got to learn this track on Forza Motorsport 4. When I got onto iRacing and started running around there, I developed a deep but passionate hatred of it.
Yeah, it is. It's probably the hardest corner to get just perfect. You can't cut the inside because A, you're going to slow down. B, there are sausage curbs in there that will absolutely send you to orbit. And then on the outside, you run wide and you get the big slowdown there. And it's just there's one fast line through there, and it takes tons and tons of practice to get it right. As we're watching Logan Fulmer here going through the Daytona chicane here on Le Mans Straight, here on here on the Mulsanne Straight, as they have done that. It's the sister of the Le Mans chicane at Daytona International Raceway on the road course. So, and I believe this next one, I believe they've named it Michelin chicane. I think that's right. I could be wrong, but I think it's the Michelin chicane is the second one down here.
Yeah, the usual information I have for the corner names comes from the iRacing track map, which is maybe not the best source of information, but that's the information that I've got. Michelin chicane. It's a good name, of course.
It is.
When you think about the history of sports car racing, you also think about Michelin tires as well. You got the Michelin board there, the Michelin screen over top of the pit exit here, for crying out loud. So definitely a good little pairing going on there. As we do still at the moment here in sim have the Dunlop Bridge on the exit of the Dunlop section. Have they renamed that area to Goodyear because of course Dunlop ending their partnership?
I don't know. As of 2022, when I was there, it was still Dunlop. Obviously those changed, and iRacing does a decent job of trying to keep up with that. This one probably is going to be difficult, obviously, with the Le Mans track relationship with other sims that we shall not name here. As far as I know, the last time I saw any racing there, it was still Dunlop. So I think I watched a little bit of the Le Mans Classic this year. So I believe it was still the Dunlop walkover bridge at that point in time.
What's funny is throughout most of my karting career, I was usually up in the Poconos for an SCCA event around the same time as the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Never got the opportunity to watch any of the event until after I got out of the kart back in 2024. Always just heard about it, never got the opportunity to see it live on TV. Of course, the TV deals with WEC here in the States is always a little bit confusing, but
Yep.
it's gotten a bit more simplified over the past couple of years. But either way, this is an absolutely amazing event. I'm still personally a fan of the Daytona 24, maybe a bit more than the Le Mans 24, just because I have more of a history of tuning into the Daytona 24. But you cannot understate the importance that this event has had, not just in the history of sports car racing, but the history of motorsports altogether. The amount of stories, both good and unfortunately bad, that have changed racing to come out of this place. It is a full encyclopedia.
It really is. I always say this: you and I, when we've done races here, either at Le Mans or at Nürburgring, I always say that Le Mans is the ultimate test of a team and their equipment. This is a brutal race as far as engines and gearboxes and tires and suspension parts, and all those 50-cent to $2 parts that will ultimately fail while you're trying to run a car at full speed for 24 straight hours. Nürburgring is, I think, to me, is a true test of driver endurance because it is such a difficult track to drive. With 170 corners or whatever it is, it is just to me, it's more of a challenge to a driver. This is more of a challenge to a team and their equipment. But the drivers obviously play a very large part of that. As we're going to get a replay here, Ryan Fulmer coming through the Porsche or the Ford chicane, and just pulls over to the side and says, "I think that may be it." So I think Ryan has said, "I think I'm done for the day."
Which, there may be some method to the madness. I'm not sure how it is there in Lansdale. I can imagine it's a little bit cooler than where I am here in Northeast Philly. But it is beautiful at the current moment here. Temporary beauty, though, because we're going to get a third day in a row of having some pretty bad rain. Yeah, actually, now it can be told with the gaps pretty spread out throughout the field. These beautiful cars spread out like a piece of beautiful melted butter on some freshly toasted sourdough bread. You can tell I haven't had dinner over the past couple of days with that comment. But this was on Monday when we had some pretty bad rainstorms here in the city of Philadelphia. Now, of course, SKR based in the Philly suburbs, so there may be some people from the Philadelphia area that are tuning into this. So it was pretty bad throughout most of the region. Certainly in my neck of the woods here in Northeast Philly, it was ugly. A small little bit of hail, nothing. Probably the worst rainstorm, at least that I've been consciously aware of, at least in many moons here in this neck of the woods. And because of the wonderful way that the 1950s on a budget rapid expansion infrastructure is done here in this section of the city, the drain systems were massively overwhelmed.
Oh, no.
So it was about half an hour after the rain started. We were checking around at the basement to make sure the water wasn't coming in through the walls or anything of the sorts. And we look out in front of the garage door, right out in front of the basement, and it's 5 inches deep.
Oh, wow.
Both our drain and the neighbor's drain were both clogged. It's a twin home, so the exact same driveway, 2 different drains on either side. What happened was the mown grass from our lawn from a couple of days prior and the mulch in the neighbor's yard both washed down and clogged it up. There was water into the garage about 2/3 of the way in. Thankfully, there was nothing really of note, just old parting stuff, extension cables that need to be put in a bag of rice, nothing major. But there were, I think, about half the houses in the street ended up getting flooded there. So
that's terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. That's probably the most amount of water I've ever been in, outside of a pool, obviously.
Yeah. That's tough, and I hate to hear that. But you know, hopefully it was a temporary thing, and you guys have recovered. And yeah, it's we've had some interesting weather over the past few days. We had we had a weekend full of rain, but due to the tropical storm, the remnants of the tropical storm that came through. But then we've had just brutally hot days over the last couple. It's actually been kind of, I wouldn't say nice, but tolerable outside for today. As on board with Leo Lecarpentier here, headed down through the Daytona chicane, running in third, so has done well, and a sub 4-minute lap. So that's good to see. So we've got 4 of our 8 have been under the 4-minute mark, and that's a pretty good time for the GT3 car. If you can get it here, if you hustle it around under 4 minutes, you've done something well. And that is also the reason we had a 15-minute qualifying. Is obviously you can barely get a lap in under qualifying if you start immediately when the clock starts. Otherwise, you're not going to get a qualifying time in. So wise of them to extend the qualifying session out to 15 minutes. As now the yellows come back, well, Le Carpentier and Pancos both with slowdown penalties.
Yeah, the slowdowns have been getting collected like Pokemon cards throughout this race. It's been pretty tough for these drivers just to keep it within the iRacing track limits. You know, when I first got into iRacing back in about 2020, well before I even had the aspirations of becoming an announcer, I remember Spa kind of had a bit of a reputation for, you know, again, handing out those slowdowns as if it was nobody's business. The meme sim racing event, the Max Bance Invitational had an event at Spa running in some old F1 cars where he had an incident point limit of just 1. And that was a very funny event. I think everybody ended up disqualifying. They declared a winner as the last person standing. I feel like, because they did change Spa, they loosened up the sort of grip on it a little bit. I feel like here at Le Mans, in an odd way, you can maybe make an argument that this is one of those tracks that hands out the incident points and especially the slowdowns the most.
Yeah, definitely the slowdowns here more than any track that I've raced in iRacing. Spa is very tricky for incidents, but this not so much. But yeah, the slowdowns here will absolutely will ruin your race because they're everywhere and they are very difficult to avoid. Once again, this is a track where it doesn't feel like this has to be very precise, but it does indeed, and you're carrying every bit of speed in a lot of these places that this car can muster. As you see there's a trick there through that one. I believe he cut the right side coming in got the slow down. You catch the left side too much, you'll get a slow down. You get a slow down on the right side on the exit. So 3 opportunities to slow your car down just going through that one chicane. And it's like that everywhere. So Jim Worth here obviously still got to work his slowdown off. So he's going to have to lift here a little bit early and work his way into the chicane, take his time getting back on the throttle, and hopefully he'll get this one resolved. There it goes. So that's how you have to do it. You just have to give the time back. You have to slow down, and you know, a 1 second slowdown in iRacing is going to cost you probably 2 seconds on your lap, because that's just the way iRacing works.
As interesting to note here, as the leaders have taken the white flag, we've had a series of pit stops. Andrew Way, Justin Ruth came into the pits, Dan Pancos, Leo Lecarpentier, and Logan Fulmer all in there right now. I think they didn't put enough fuel in these cars. Of course, usually here in this championship, run about 20-minute long races, and unfortunately here, Leo Lecarpentier spending an extra amount of time down in pit lane here. That is unfortunate for the driver of that number 24 Ferrari. Everybody else spending around 7 seconds. Logan Fulmer up on the jacks a little bit more. Lecarpentier finally out and away after 42 seconds. Fulmer may not be too far behind when it comes to the pit stop times. I think they may have accidentally taken tires. Now, Charles, of course, All three of us, for that matter, including Josh in the production truck, we've all gotten the opportunity to cover the Weekend Warrior series here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, where a small little mistake like that can make a huge difference. And even the drivers who are very experienced in sim, Josh, can have some miscues down in pit lane. That was mean, Josh. I'm sorry. Don't cut my microphone.
I wasn't gonna. Oh,
Hey, now.
see I guess that caught nice catch there by La Carpentier. Catching that coming out of the final corner there in the Dunlop curves, and that was funny because I would have got a good view. That's where I sat when I was there. Just at that one corner, I spent about 7 hours there watching, and it was amazing to watch. You get to see that run out of the curves and then into Test Rouge. And that was fun. But anyway, yeah, good catch by Le Carpentier. Logan Fulmer is back out on the track running in 5th, and he's given up a little bit of time. But once again, everybody out there, and it's sad to see that I wasn't going to say anything about Josh and his pit stops, but I'm glad you did because it needed to be said. But yeah, it just
honesty
like,
is the best policy.
Yeah, it just seemed like maybe we didn't realize that we were going to have an extra lap here and did not fill the car all the way to where it needed to be. Obviously, not a full tank for a 25-minute race, but needed a few more liters than what they got put in there.
Yes, unfortunately for those drivers, a quick little splash and dash. Nothing major, but definitely keeping them on their toes as they got towards the end of the race. I will say one thing. Our graphics are absolutely fantastic, apart from the fact that in these sessions, the time is set to 2 times speed. So whenever we do get past the clock, it's going very quickly up there in the top left corner. We are not 35 minutes into this 25-minute long race. We're just shy of that 25-minute mark right now as we see the drivers head their way into the final section, and Andrew Way only a few turns away from victory here in this championship. I will note Andrew Way was the driver that won last time out at Long Beach. However, he was not given the points for that, not actually classified points-wise here in this championship from everything that I'm seeing according to the SKR website. So I will say that Andrew Way, as he heads his way in through the final few turns, is going to score his 2nd victory on the road in a row here in this season. There's a checkered flag for Andrew. He's victorious. Justin Ruth, whether this is classed as a win or not, which it was last time at Long Beach, it doesn't really matter because Justin Ruth going to round his way across that start finish straight away to become the champion.
There you go. Congrats to Justin Ruth. And ran, I think, most of his races in that BMW, I think, with maybe the exception of one. I think maybe he switched off for one of the races, but was in the BMW for most of the season, but did a great job with it. Obviously, a really good car. Here we got Pancos now coming his way down into the Ford chicanes to finish off his lap to finish 3rd or 2nd, depending on how it scored. But another good run for Pancos here, as Justin Ruth has already crossed the line, so don't worry about that slow down. But there comes the 35 Porsche coming across the line to finish in P2. So great run by him. Le Carpentier now working his way out of the Porsche curves in his red, white, and blue, the tricolor Ferrari, I guess we could call it that, with the French colors on board. So he's going to come through and get, I guess, the final step of the podium, since Andrew Way is not classified in the championship. So we'll give P3 to Leo there, and then we're going to get a little bit of time here before Logan Fulmer gets in here, and then we'll follow by Barrett and Worth, as young Logan there in the Audi, madman that he is, driving the Audi, the car that nobody drives anymore in iRace, is going to come in with a P4, and he's shown such a lot of improvement over the course of the season. So it's good to see him up there battling. This is, like I said, not an easy track, as you can see, still taking a little bit of extra there on the Ford chicane and into the gravel a little bit, but he's going to cross the line as well.
And one more driver left to finish, and that is Jim, or actually 2 drivers, pardon me, Chris Barrett and Jim Worth. He had the last 2 to come across the line here. There's Barrett in the other Ferrari, heads his way across the stripe. Did have a slowdown as he came across the line there, so he may pick up a penalty, but he was still well far ahead of Jim Worth. It may actually not be enough. He may get a penalty that puts him back down to 7th as Jim Worth going to tag the fence, heading his way all through the Porsche curves. You know, it's odd. We usually talk about the Porsche curves being a happy hunting ground for the Porsches. Not so
Yeah.
here tonight as Jim Worth had the troubles, and Dan Pancoast had him earlier too.
Yeah, not if you bounce it across the wall there in the Porsche curves. That is not conducive to fast lap time. I'll say hello to my buddy Dan, who is actually a track marshal here, and that's his spot. So he just got a wake up call as Jim with a little wheelie there coming through, taking it the straight way through there, and not able to hang on to that. But I think we're going to get a replay of the error show that from Jim Worth here as he crosses the start finish line with a black flag. So that was enough to get his black flag as well. So they'll add a little time to his finishing position, but he's still going to finish in 7th or 6th.
Oh my goodness me, as they rack across the line. You know, funnily enough, a little tradition that I guess we can draw the roots back to the Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. They usually burn it down right there at the end. Hey, no damage on these race cars. I can't remember who it was that was upside down after the race at Long Beach last time out, but these drivers, of course, having some fun here at the season finale. Jim Worth getting a little bit of airtime there, both in terms of having his name and car out there on the broadcast, but having a little bit of a sketchy moment as he headed his way through that final chicane. I wonder if we can just take a quick little look at that, as I will not sing Rocket Man, both for copyright reasons and also the fact that I don't want to blow anybody's eardrums out. Here we go. There you go. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think he got all 4 up on the deck.
I think he did. I think he did get all 4 off the deck. And we're getting one more shot here from the inside of the car. As doesn't quite get it held on there, just a few meters from the finish line. But great racing today. Obviously, this track is one of those tracks that it'll spread the field out in a hurry, as we see local just straight nose into the barrier there.
That's a cut away from that, because that was not broadcast friendly. Apart from now, that is. That gave me whiplash just looking at it. Our thanks to Whiplash SimCams again for the cameras throughout the season.
For sure.
That was the best unintentional advertisement I've ever given. But folks, we'll take a quick little gander at the race results before we wrap up what has been a fantastically enjoyable season here. The first time covering it here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Thank you to SKR and all of the drivers and all of you tuning into these broadcasts as well. Andrew Way comes across the line to win this race. Justin Ruth comes across in 2nd, will likely win the championship and will likely be classed with the victory here tonight. Dan Pancoast will be in 3rd with Leo Le Carpentier there in 4th. Logan Fulmer is in P5, Chris Barrett in 6th, Jim Worth in 7th, with Ryan Fulmer completing your field there in P8. And with that, Charles, just about rounds out a pretty fun campaign that we have had here at SKR. Of course, you know, this is a series very similar to the Sim Racers group action that we cover twice a week here now on Slow Motion Broadcasting, a community out there in San Jose that we've got to see grow ever since its first broadcast here on the channel way back on January 1st of 2025. And here at the start of a brand new adventure here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, it's been a treat getting to see these drivers learn the ropes on iRacing. I think we've had a pretty good amount of fun here in the booth too.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you know, it's once again developmental league, and hey, if you're in that area, man, go get out there and just spend some time in there and jump in iRacing, run a few laps, see if you like it, and maybe join the league. This is really fun, and it's good. You know, I never got a chance to witness, you know, a bunch of guys running together in the same room until I went to a 24-hour land race last year in Denmark, and there were 50 sims that people had brought from home with PCs and rigs and everything, and they're all set up in this basketball gym, or multi-purpose gym, and it was absolutely amazing to see that. And I'm sure that you get a nice facility like that's at that SKR has there in the Philly area. It's just it's great. It's great fun. You get to, once you get done racing, you can cool off, you can have a chat with the rest of the drivers, and it's just a great experience.
Yeah, and it's been a great experience getting to cover all the action here all season long on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Of course, folks, if you want to be a part of the action and learn about SKR Sim Racing, not just the league, but the Sim Racing Center based out there in Lansdale, PA, with high-grade motion simulator rigs and a lot of fun throughout the year as well. You can learn more at skrsimracing.com. They're just a simple little few-minute walk away from the nearest SEPTA regional rail station. So whether you're in Center City or anywhere in the area to get to there, it is very easily accessible by public transit. You can get there either through the Northeast Extension. It's not too far away from the city. Funnily enough, got the opportunity to drive not past, but only a few miles away on my way back from the King of Prussia Mall just about 1 week ago here in the area around this city. As I'm not even going to acknowledge that sign that we just saw there a couple of moments ago. I'm going to have nightmares about that for the next 3 weeks. But folks, it's been an absolute treat, a privilege, and an honor to cover the action here from SKR Sim Racing here in the very first season that we've gotten to cover the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Once again, our thanks go out to Gerald Streets, the other founder of SKR, everybody at SKR Sim Racing, the drivers, everybody that makes the events possible. Of course, you, the viewers, tuning into the action all season long here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Our producer, Mr. Joshua Wilkie, here tonight. Mr. Mike Braun, who substituted for Josh last time out at Long Beach. Of course, my season-long booth partner, Mr. Charles Boshell. Folks, we've still got a lot of action coming up for you here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, though. Tomorrow, we have got the Rick Matek GT3 Challenge, so we are far from over when it comes to GT3 racing here on SMB. I mentioned the Sim Racers group. You can't see it on the graphics right now. However, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, you'll be able to see the latest round of their Formula 3 Championship. The Ray Esports Summer Series will be back here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. You'll be able to see the action throughout the rest of the season every single Sunday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. That'll be at Donington Park with Charles and Mr. Joshua Wilkie on the call for that. You'll be able to catch me, at least in the production truck, for the American Muscle Series broadcast at Circuit of the Americas this upcoming Tuesday with the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship running at Portland. Never miss out on any of the racing action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. And once again, folks, stay tuned to the SKR website and stay tuned here at SMB, because we'll likely be able to bring you more SKR coverage as we take a little break for the off season and get ready to rock and roll in the GTE cars there in September. But for one final time here for round number 6 of the SKR Sim Racing Series here at Le Mans, that will do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Josh Wilkie working all the cameras and the graphics there in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you also very much for tuning into the action all season long here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and I hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.